Swinging a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
This is the Fly the W podcast. It's season number 4. It's episode 41. And Crowley, the Cubs are at the halfway point of the 2025 season. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on all the socials. I'm at Mully and Haw on X.
You can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky and TikTok, and Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us any of your thoughts or questions at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. And Dustin, I got to fly the W. I don't know if you remember this. The last time we were together, I said the Cubs were going to lose the first 2 games and win the next 2 games. Oh, man, what a difference it is having Shota Imanaga back.
Big difference having Shota back. I don't know that I saw it the same way. I did also say they would split. I actually felt confident about game number 2, which is a game I guess that maybe they should have, could have, would have won if Jameson Taillon hadn't had the long ball syndrome yet again. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. This was a 4-game affair, nice and hot and sweaty. And one thing both TV and radio Crowley pointed out, I'm sure you noticed it too, a lot of fans not showing up in St. Louis right now.
Best fans in baseball, I thought. And all of a sudden, they're not happy about the same thing that pretty much 25 other fan bases are. The owner's not spending, but then they don't show up. That's, you know, to sit there and think that the Cubs were in first and the Cardinals were in second for a good portion of the series, and you didn't have one single sellout.
Crazy. I mean, not in barely. I mean, they barely got to 30,000. That place holds like 45, 44.
Yeah, around 45. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a big box. And, you know, there was like 27, 28 and change first couple of games. I'm sure today wasn't very packed, you know, a day game and it's really hot. But anyway, let's get into game number 1. That takes us all the way back to Monday night. Ben Brown versus Matthew Liberatore.
Yeah, this is one I think we were both worried about. I think that in one of those situations where you're just going, oh boy. We've talked about Ben's ups and downs on the season. We previewed it the last time on the podcast. This one was down. I had hopes because of how well he started. He was locating his fastball the first 3 innings. His pitch count looked good. He was cruising. That's the good Ben Brown. Then the 4th inning came, and you know Wilson Contreras, we'll talk plenty about him, but he plays with a chip on his shoulder, definitely against the Cubs. 2 outs, he doubles. The next batter, Lars Nootbaar, hits a 2-run homer to put the Cubs up 2-0, right? Ben fell behind Nootbaar 3-0, and that's the thing you keep seeing with Brent. Okay, he walks somebody, that's bad, and then all of a sudden he gets behind 2-0, 3-0, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's putting a meatball in there, and it's not going to play at this level, unfortunately. And we'll talk about it more later, but he's going to get a little busted.
He's hitting too much. He's hitting too much of the white, right? He's hitting too much of the white, and it works for a little while, but then they figure him out the second or third time around, and it's going to cost him.
Yeah, and he's, again, just got to be more aggressive and more confident in his stuff, and he just – you know, and when you take a look here, you got what we like to call Pat Hughes's turning point moment here.
And this is a potential turning point in this ball game right now.
So the Cubs fight back in the 5th. PCA doubles. He scores on a Carson Kelly single to cut the lead 2-1. The Cubs load the bases, top of the order coming up, right? This is the turning point moment. With Ian Happ up, the bases juiced. Liberatore gets him to bounce into an ending double play. And Dustin, to me, I just felt like that was a huge momentum shift, right?
Yep, massive. Huge might not even do it justice, Crawley. It was absolutely massive.
And then the bottom of the next, that very same inning, in the bottom of the inning, Brown had Pedro Pages on a 1-2 count, walks him. With 2 outs, he gives up a home run to Brendan Donovan to make it 4-1 ball game. Brown walks the next batter, Mason Wynn. Then Alec Burleson hits a 2-run homer to make it 6-1. Brown would come out again in the 6th, give up a leadoff single, and then his 4th 2-run homer of the game to Nolan Gorman. Dustin, all 4 home runs were 2-run homers, all of them to left-handed hitters.
How often does that happen, right? I mean, there's got to be some kind of a something.
Now, Brown had never given up more than 2 homers in a single game. And so he gave up 8 runs on 9 hits, 2 walks, all the walks came around to score on home runs, 3 Ks in 5 innings of work. And Dustin, you know that after this was over, Ben Brown knew he was a dead man walking. Here's what he had to say.
It just all happened really fast. It's really frustrating. It's going to be tough to sleep tonight, just knowing I was that close to something really good tonight, and just as fast it all went away. So it's hard. Usually the at-bats before the home runs were 2 walks, just going to get burned on that. Made some close pitches, weren't called strikes. But ultimately, it just has to be better. I mean, stuff like that's going to be in the back of your mind. Obviously, when guys show up in the locker room and they need spots to pitch, it's hard. So, but ultimately, it doesn't matter. I just got to go do my job, and I didn't do that tonight. So,
he didn't do his job. He said it right there, Crawley. He did not do his job that night. He didn't. At least he knew it. At least he knew it. He kind of tried to blame the refs a little, or the umps a little bit, though.
I know they've talked about the mental skills and all that stuff, and I just feel like that's really more of the problem is between the ears than his actual stuff.
Yep.
And I really think that going to AAA, which he will be demoted when Shota comes up, but going to AAA, getting a breather, working on the changeup in a less competitive atmosphere, and limiting these innings, I think, are going to be better. It's not only the Ben Brown giving up runs, but the offense scored 1 more run in the 7th when PCA double and eventually scored on a Justin Turner sac fly to make it 8-2. That would be the final. The Cubs scored 2 runs on 7 hits, were 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position, and left 6 men on base. Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, and Dansby Swanson were all 0 for 4. Justin Turner was 0 for 3 and Matt Shaw 0 for 2. So when you're talking about half your lineup doesn't have a hit, it's not going to do much. And Michael Fulmer, how about that? He was called up on Monday to pitch 2 scoreless innings.
Yeah, that was a good piece of news, right? That was probably the best thing that came out of game number 1 against the Cardinals there, Crawley. That was probably the best thing that we saw. All right, so that was game number 1. Game number 2, Jamison Tyone, Michael McGreevy. This one, we talked about it a little bit as we got going. This one also didn't go the Cubs' way.
Nope, another dud for JMO. Classic Cubs versus Cardinal matchup. Unfortunately, the Cubs were on the short side of the stick. We talked about how we needed JMO to give a good bounce-back performance, and unfortunately it didn't happen. Bottom of the 2nd, Wilson Contreras singles. Lars Nootbaar again with his 2nd home run in his games.
That guy, he is the new Cardinal Cub killer. Yeah.
Luckily for the Cubs, they didn't face him the last 2 games. I don't know if you heard that he had that rib issue, so he got an injection, and
that might have been that. Maybe that was a difference. I mean, maybe that was a difference maker.
I don't know. Cubs were down 2-0. That meant 5 2-run home runs in the series. The Cubs, though, would fight back in the top of the 3rd. Bases loaded, went out for Kyle Tucker. He singles to tie the game. Runner still corners for Seiya Suzuki, who hits a 3-run homer. The Cubs take a 5-2 lead. Dustin Persea, that was home run number 21, which matches his career high in MLB from last season, and we're not even in the All-Star break.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. I mean, he doesn't get a whole lot of buzz, right? And he's been pretty darn good.
I think he's so underrated. It's not even funny, but either way, the good feelings didn't last long. Bottom of the inning, Brendan Donovan singles and Mason Wynn homers to cut the Cubs lead to 5-4. The 6-2 run homer for the Cardinals against the Cubs. Tyone wasn't done giving up home runs. Bottom of the 4th, he gives up a leadoff solo home run to tie the game at 5. He then gives up a double to Pedro Pajes, walked Victor Scott, gotten out, but then Mason Wynn doubled to bring home 2 more runs, and the Cubs trailed 7-5. We're going to talk about that 8th run in a minute, but for Jamison Tyone, another disastrous start after giving up 8 runs in 4 innings and 2 home runs against the Brewers the last time out. He gave up 8 runs on 8 hits and 3 home runs to the Cardinals. This is what he had to say about his performance after the game. And just like Ben Brown, probably pretty honest.
Usually it's execution over, the hitters being on something that's a good pitch. So I'm just going to go out and say it's probably execution, getting in weird counts or just leaving it up or pulling it middle, that sort of thing. Felt like the game was pretty easy for me there for like 6 weeks or whatever, and then now it's really hard again. You just expect that to happen at some point in the season, and it's about punching back and finding a way to fix it and correct it as fast as possible. So, I'm aware, obviously, that the last two haven't been very good, and it needs to be better. I think teams have been a little more aggressive. I've been getting in some weird counts. The just overall consistency of the stuff and execution isn't what it was. So I'm confident I can get it back, but also like the last two haven't been very good.
When we take a look at the most home runs allowed this season, Jameson Taillon is second with 21. So he's given up as many home runs as Seiya Suzuki has hit so far.
Yeah, think about that. That's a great way to really tie it together, right? I mean, think about that.
Yeah, and you know what though, he was being honest, and it is, for a little while the game of baseball was easy for JMO, right? We talked about his streak of quality starts. Eventually, you're going to come back to the back of a baseball card, right? You got a general idea with a guy like PCA. You don't know young kids what their ceiling is, but with veterans in general, by the end of the season after 162, roughly about what JMO is going to be. And so, he had some good starts, and now he's had a couple bad ones. It's not that he's a bad pitcher. He's going through a tough one right now, and like he said, he's got to figure it out.
He's got to figure it out. He's got to. He absolutely must.
Now, Dustin, we got to talk about Pete's no good, very bad day, right? Let's get to that 8th run that was scored off Jameson. Now, it wasn't completely Jameson's fault on this one, even though he gave up a shot that traveled 399.5 feet to dead center, right? But it was future All-Star PCA who was responsible for that 8th run. He just had a rough day in general. In the bottom of the 4th, after Mason Wynn's 2-run double put the Cardinals up by 2, PCA forgot about how many outs there were in the inning. Alec Burleson hits that one 399.5 feet, and he catches it against the wall and kind of rolls and starts jogging in. Wynn tags up and scores all the way from second to put the Cardinals up 8-5. Just a complete brain fart is the only way to put it, right? I mean,
he screwed up, and he absolutely screwed up.
You know what though, Dustin? And JD brought this up on the broadcast, and I never heard anyone else talk about it. JD said, did he leave early, and why didn't they challenge that? And then it just kind of disappeared. But, PCA had a couple chances for redemption with 2 on and 2 out in the top of the 5th. PCA hits one, and Alec Burleson, who is not known for his defense, he made a whole bunch of plays this week. He made a spectacular diving catch on what would have been an infield bloop, and that probably would have at least scored a run. Top of the 6th, Dansby singles, and Nico hits his first home run of the season.
Finally, that was it's really the only good part of this game, Crowley. We're trying to find a silver lining.
The Shota home run was good,
the Shota home run. But we've seen that. I mean, again, it's always good when he homers, but this was something that I know Nico's really been trying to get done.
Yeah, and then, so now you got this home run. It's 8-7. It's a 1-run game. Takes us to the top of the 7th. Jojo Romero's on the mound, 1 out. Kyle Tucker walks and Seiya singles. And now PCA has a second shot at redemption. For some reason, Pete decides to bunt. The ball goes back to the pitcher, who throws out PCA for the second out. And, it was just confusing on why, with 1 out, he would do that. After the
he
game,
obviously wasn't confident in his approach, right? He wasn't confident in his ability to hit that pitcher. That's the only reason he would have done such a thing.
So PCA was asked about this after the game. They asked him about the bunt, about the miscounting of the outs, so to say. And here's what he had to say.
Not knowing how many outs there were.
Yeah. Simple as that.
Does that need to be in communication with Tucker there, or is that just something?
No, we give the outs every out, and I gave 2 outs, so can't really do much about that.
And then in the 7th, what went into the decision to bunt?
That was an attempt for a little push bunt, trying to bunt for a base hit. But I didn't do a good job of playing the game of baseball today, so.
Ouch.
I didn't do a good job of playing the game of baseball today. I mean, you don't hear that very often from guys.
And if you're watching on YouTube and you look at Pete's face, he's seething. He is livid at himself. Okay.
Does that make you feel any better about it? You know that he is upset and disappointed and he knows it can't happen again. Does that make you feel any better?
I mean, I've known Pete since he has been in Myrtle Beach, and I saw him in South Bend, and I saw him in Iowa, and he plays with a lot of passion, Dustin, and he would, I heard people saying, bench him, take it out of the game. First off,
there was a lot of that.
First off,
yeah, and not for me, by the way, not believe it or not. Some people might thought that would be my no.
But I don't think there is any punishment worse for PCA than just knowing that run ended up being the decider.
Correct.
It wasn't all his fault.
Great point, Crawley. Great point.
And here's the thing. Heads off to JMO when they asked about that. He said, I wasn't worried about the 8th run. I was worried about all the runs.
Yep.
And that was a great quote by JMO. But Pete, for him, I could, all those Cardinal fans, even though there weren't a lot, but anyone near the center field was giving him hell the rest of the game.
Oh, absolutely. And that was their third loss in a row, which has not happened much this year.
Right. And then on the broadcast the next day, they said they played it on the Jumbotron like 7 times, that mistake. And so you just know it eats Pete inside, and I'm okay. You're with a young kid, you're going to have that sometimes. And I know people, there is no punishment you could have given him any harder than he would give himself. He was harder on himself.
He's going to be harder on himself. Great point. He's going to be harder on himself than any fan or the manager or the skipper or anybody out there. That's a fantastic point, Crawley. Fantastic point.
Now, Dansby still had a chance to give the Cubs a lead, right? You got runners at second and third with 2 outs. A single would score 2. Right. But Alec Burleson made another spectacular play on a foul ball that was in foul territory. He was able to catch it before it hit the netting. That takes us to the 9th. One more chance for redemption for both Pete and Dansby at this point. Reliever Ryan Helsley on the bump. He gets Ian to ground out. Kyle Tucker singles. Seiya strikes out for the second out, but PCA gets his first hit of the game. You got runners at first and third, 2 outs for Dansby. He hits a chopper into the ground. Nolan Arenado makes a fantastic barehanded play and throws to first to end the game.
It really was a great play, right? I mean, he hates to compliment a guy, but that was a great play.
Yep. For Swanson, he was 1 for 5 and left 4 runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Dustin,
time to move him down in the order. David Haw didn't want to hear it.
David didn't want to hear it?
Found that to be a boring topic. I said, with runners in scoring position, he has been awful. And you know who's good with runners in scoring position? Nico Horner.
Right.
Flip-flop those two. And then we aren't too far removed from a game. Was it Sunday, Crawley, that Dansby Swanson batted cleanup?
Yep.
And what is going on?
Here, you can give this to Mr. Haw next time you see him. Dansby is hitting 141 with runners in scoring position. Not ideal for your number 4 or 5 hitting. And you know what? Dansby himself.
No, he's not hiding from it. He's not hiding from it. No.
I mean, really all year I've been pretty bad at it, to be honest. I think a lot of it is just, being able to simplify and just focus on hitting the ball hard somewhere, right? And good things will be able to happen. Not really holding my end of the bargain up right now in that regard. And it's definitely something that frustrates me, and I got to be better with.
So here's another.
Now he's going to argue with you.
Here's another one for Mr. Haw right here. When Dansby is batting 4th, it's only happened a few games, only 24 bats. He's hitting .083. When he's batting 5th, which has happened in 45 games, he's hitting .215. When he's batting 6th, he's only done that 10 games. He's hitting .200. When he was batting 7th, he hits .417. When he bats 8th, he hits .387. And do me a favor, go take a look when the Braves won the World Series. Where was Dansby hitting? 8th, 9th, almost consistently.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't know if you want to keep doing this, and I understand,
I guess he's lucky that the Cubs and a bunch of other teams in the same year were super desperate for shortstops.
Yeah, I mean,
again, he plays a great shortstop.
Right.
He plays a wonderful shortstop, and you have to live with his roller coaster.
Yeah, and like you said, that was the Cubs' 3rd loss, something they had only done once this entire season. But Dustin, we can blame Pete. We could blame Dansby when it's come down to it. The pitching was really, really, really bad. This is something.
The first two games, pitching was awful.
If we're talking going back to a week from last night on Thursday, they gave up 8 runs, 3 home runs against the Brewers on the weekend against Seattle with the win. Gave up 9 runs, 7 runs, 14 runs on Sunday. Monday, 8 runs. Tuesday, 8 runs. I mean, it's hard to keep putting your offense in that kind of hole. That's a lot of runs. And if you looked at the home runs, 3-4-1 was the Cade Horton start, 5-4-3. It was just a ton of home runs. And it didn't end until Matt Boyd came in to kind of close it down.
Right. Yep.
Now, Counsell met with the media before the game and was asked about Dansby, and he kind of mumbled some stuff. And sure enough, Dansby was batting 5th. At least he has good numbers against Eric Fetty. So I'll give.
They faced each other a lot when he was with the Braves, and Fetty was a national, right?
Right. And so when it talks about one guy who is hitting with runners in scoring position, Ian Happ, and there was no runners in scoring position, but on the first pitch he goes yard to put the Cubs up 1-0. Dustin, how about this? Ian Happ. In June, he was just struggling for power. In the month of June, he has hit 1 home run less than Cal Raleigh or Eugenio Suarez or Juan Soto.
I saw that he was up there. That's awesome.
He's on a heater right now.
Really great. He's on a heater. Yeah.
Yep.
And it sounds like Major League. He's on a heater.
Yeah. And so the Cubs scored at least 1 run in each of the first 5 innings. In the second, Dansby led off with an automatic double and scored on a Michael Busch single. And with 2 outs, Reese McGuire's homered. Kyle Tucker hit a solo home run in the third. 4th inning, Busch singles, steals second, makes it to third on a fly ball by Nico. Matt Shaw walk and stole second, and Ian Happ drove them both in with an RBI single. Top of the 5th, Cubs load the bases and score on a force out to score a run. The Cubs, Dustin, were up 8-0 after 5 innings.
Now, I have to admit, Crowley, this game, and I got a little pushback. For a Cub-Cardinal game, I found myself a little bit bored. I'm gonna be honest.
Honestly,
little bit bored. I kind of started drifting. I went back to the NBA draft. I had other work to attend to. Kind of got bored, and it was disappointing. I never want to be bored during a Cubs-Cardinal game.
Yeah, but after all the heartbreak and frustration, it was nice to just have an ezy one and laugh and have fun. To me,
I understand that. I understand that take. Don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled with the outcome. Okay, I'm thrilled with the outcome. But I got a little bored. I'm just being honest.
We had a couple close games, a couple blowout games. But Matt Boyd dominated the Cardinals. He had his 11th quality start against the Redbirds, pitching 6 scoreless innings, giving up only 3 hits, no walk, and 3 Ks. The only trouble he got in was in the bottom of the third when he gave up a leadoff double, got 2 outs, gave up a single, so runners at first and third. He got Alec Burleson to ground out to end the threat. But other than that, for Boyd, he was cool, calm, and collective in a very hot St. Louis night. But look at this. ERA leaders since May 28th, minimum 25 innings pitch. Chris Sale, Clark Schmidt, Ranger Suarez, Jacob deGrom, and there's Matt Boyd on that list.
Yep.
So he has really been a steady presence with Seiya out.
Boyd's been their most consistent pitcher.
Yeah, he had 1 bad start against Cincinnati, and
the
that
Reds,
was
right? Yeah.
Yeah. For the second straight game, the bullpen was solid. They did a really good job again in that JMO start to keep him in it. In this one as well, Ryan Brazier and Michael Fulmer each pitched perfect innings. Porter Hodge finished his up. First time we've seen him since May 17th. Gave up a leadoff single and then got 3 straight out. So it's great to see him back. But Dustin, you said you were bored, but for me, it was the most complete game in at least a couple of weeks, probably since the Phillies series at Wrigley, where you had the offense clicking, base running. You had 3 stolen bases, great starting pitching. The bullpen looked sharp. The defense, Shaw made a great play. Nico made a great jumping catch. Busch made some good plays at first. He didn't make an error in the first inning. But the Cubs snapped their 3-game losing streak and got their 7th shutout of the season. So for me to see them play as complete a game as that, it's been a while.
And they didn't score all the runs on home runs. They scored 8 runs in this game, four off the long ball and 4 the more traditional route.
Yeah, I just felt like I said, to me, it was one of the best games that they have played in a very long time.
All right, that moved us into the Thursday afternoon, the return of Shota. Now, Shota hasn't been around since what, May the 4th?
May the 4th be with you. I was there in Milwaukee when he came hobbling out, and it took a lot longer than we all thought. But Dustin,
way longer, almost twice as long as I thought.
I got to tell you, he came in there and he was absolutely dominant. He sits there and he goes 5 innings, gives up 1 hit, 1 walk, 3 Ks. Now, I don't know if he could have gone another inning. He was, they were watching his pitches. He threw 77 pitches. I think the fact that it was hot and he had a hamstring injury, that's the last thing you needed.
A lot of combinations you didn't want to push, right?
Right. And the very fun, and the funny thing is the very first play of the game, he has to cover first, right? And Coombe was all over that, being like, that's baseball, right? The baseball gods, the ball find you, all that stuff. Let's see how that hamstring's doing. He did fine. Dustin, it was just, to me, just a really impressive start. I think the team probably got a little pickup of that. He retired 15 of the 17 batters he faced. He only allowed 83.2 average exit velo, so they weren't hitting him hard. You didn't see barrels. He retired the leadoff batter in all 5 innings. That's such a big thing. It just was a great game. I thought he really, really did well.
Yeah, he was excellent. Really, really worth the watch, no doubt.
Now, when we talk about the offense, it was all right. There was some weirdness. First inning, Ian Happ singles, and then Seiya Suzuki flies into a double play. Alec Burleson made a play over his head. Again, for some reason, Alec Burleson became a Gold Glover against the Cubs, and Happ had rounded second, but then forgot to tag second on the way back. So Pat Hughes asked if he ever saw the old 9-3 put out like that in that weird way. It was a bizarre play on that one. And then, there was a couple other instances. Michael Busch did have a home run in the 2nd inning. So number 13 for Busch. Good to see him. He's been hot as of late. And then when we get to the 4th inning, Dustin, you had Busch, you had 3 straight singles with 1 out, Busch, Kelly, and Horner. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, here we go. I felt like that was their chance against Payente to break it open, right? Mm-hmm. To give us another easy, breathable game. And Shaw hits a broken bat, and Nolan Arenado again makes a play, a jump and catch. Ian Happ walks with the bases loaded to score a run, 2-0. You got him. And then Kyle Tucker is up, right? You're going, okay, here he comes. He hits one 105 miles per hour off the bat, but to Mason Wynn. And that kid is such an impressive, he's so good at shortstop. When you look at the Cardinals and their left side of the infield, it really, truly is impressive. But I felt like that was their chance to really get at him, and they didn't. Now, PCA, he does become a disruptor again. He didn't really have the greatest series against the Cardinals. He even said that, but in the 8th inning, right, he singles, and then he gets to 3rd on a Dansby Swanson single. Michael Busch pops out for the 1st out, but then they do the old 1st-3rd trick, and Wilson Contreras, our old friend, is playing first base, and he doesn't have a lot of experience there. And the one thing you can't do is you cannot make that throw to second with a guy like PCA at 3rd. So they go, and you have Dansby's caught in a rundown, and Wilson gets the ball. Purposely, he's getting himself hung up, and Wilson throws it to second. And the second that throw came out of his hands, PCA busted down the line and scored to make it 3-0. Mm-hmm. That was a huge play, and that's what Pete Speed can do for you.
Yeah, I love when he gets everybody in a tizzy, right? His speed just gets everybody all in a tizzy. They can't figure out how to play baseball. It's like watching a little league game sometimes. It's pretty comical. There is no doubt about that crowd.
Now, Dustin, you talk about how you like close games. There was Brad Keller who came in. He came in the 7th inning, and he gave up 2 walks. That was a little nerve-wracking. He was able to get out of it. Good job, Tommy Hotovy. Tell him I said so. But then Drew Pomeranz had another scoreless inning. His ERA remains at 0. And we get to the 9th inning, and Daniel Palencia comes in. Alec Burleson, who had a great series, he doubled. So you got a leadoff double. Then Wilson Contreras gets hit by a pitch. It grazes him. So much so that the Cubs challenged that he got hit. But if you know anything about Wilson from his time with the Cubs, he always gets hit, very much like Anthony Rizzo. He's very much on top of the plate. He gets hit a lot, and he's jawing with Daniel Palencia for some reason, right?
Yep.
After that happens, Palencia strikes out the next 3 batters, Arenado, Thomas Sagasi, and Nolan Gorman to end the game. He cheers, and he's yelling, he's all excited. But then Wilson Contreras has words, and the bench is clear. The bench is clear, Dustin, and luckily nothing else happened. But here's what Daniel Palencia had to say about what happened.
It was an intense game. I was pretty hyped, and I mean that's part of the game. Like it was nothing was intentional. Like it's just part of the game. Like I don't know. I don't want to hit that guy. I've been watching that guy since I was a kid. Like I really feel proud of him. Like what he's doing for the game. Just like like I say, just like the moment was intense, close game. Like I think it was just that.
So Palencia grew up admiring Wilson. They're both from Venezuela. Okay. And if you know anything about Venezuelans, they're very proud of their baseball team. And so why would he try to hit Wilson Contreras to put the winning run at the plate?
No, doesn't make any sense. Again, you got to just think a little bit, right? And that's always been part of his issue.
He said after the game to Derek Gould of The Athletic, he said, my reaction was bad. I apologize to the Chicago Cubs for the way I reacted. I don't want to fight them. I'm glad he said that. Like you said, sometimes you got to think, and he reminds me so much of Carlos Zambrano. I met both of them. I met Carlos and I met Wilson at Club 400, talked to them, work with them. Both can just, and if you ask their teammates, nicest, sweetest guys. But when you get in between the white lines, they just get like crazy. And it's just, sometimes it can get annoying, even when they're on your team and especially when they're not on your team.
Yeah, I mean, Palencia might have went a little bit too over the top, right? He might have said something in the direction of the players that, he could have, he's not innocent. Okay. I could just see myself being on the losing end. Okay. And wanting to go after Daniel Palencia. Right. Do your yelling at the Cubs. Get excited. Listen, I love the passion. I love the fire. I love the desire. But sometimes you got to be careful what you're doing. You got to be a little bit careful. Otherwise, you're poking the bear and things might happen.
I think he was excited. He turned around and yelled into his glove and then yelled. I think he was just excited.
He kind of punched his chest and kind of pointed down.
He does it all the time. He does this stuff all the time.
I didn't say he didn't. I'm just saying, if I was on the losing end, I can understand why an opponent would not like that. I'm saying, I can understand in the heat of the moment. Yeah, work harder, win the game. Right. Everything you said, Crowley, I agree with. All I'm saying is I get it. But again, I'm not perfect either, right? Like, I mean, this is one of my many faults, right? But that's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Here I love this. If you want to talk about passion, here's what Shota Imanaga had to say after the game.
It was really good. I was very grateful because during my rehab process, the team was playing really well. So today, it didn't really feel like my first start coming back from rehab. It was just, okay, let's even up the series.
Let's even up the series. I mean, this guy, he's such a gamer. Having him back in this lineup just lengthens everything in the rotation. And you just have less, uncertainty. Like every time Colin Ray started, every time Ben Brown started, you didn't know what you were going to get. This kind of lengthens things out. You only have one guy that you're not sure about now. I know Jameson Tyone will get back on track, but having Seiya back was just such a welcome relief. And after losing the first two games, the Cubs come back and win the second two. And that just shows, this could have been a disaster, and instead it was averted.
Oh, what a difference 2 days makes, right? What a difference 2 days make. This is the Fly the W podcast. It's season number 4. It's episode 41. The Cubs are at the halfway point of the 2025 season. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star reviews. We'll take them. Email us, Crowley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget you can watch us like some of you are right now on Crowley's Clubhouse YouTube page. All right, Crowley, after 4 days in St. Louis and some toasted ravioli and some bad imitation pizza, where do the Cubs stand?
Yeah, I'm hoping everyone didn't eat the pizza, but here we go. The Cubs are at 48-33. They are in first place. Milwaukee, 45-36. They were idle today. They're 3 games back. St. Louis now is dropped to third, 44-38, 4.5 games back. The Reds, 42-39, 6. And the Pirates are 32-50. And Dustin, when we talk about being at the halfway point of the season, and you take a look at what the Cubs have done being in first place, you're happy about that. You take a look, their run differential so far is 100, which is they've scored 100 more runs than they've allowed, right? And so pretty darn good. Their expected win-loss is 50-31. So they should have won a couple more games, but that's the weirdness of baseball sometimes. That's going to happen, 1 or 2 games as far as your expected win-loss. They are 25-15 at home, 23-18 at home. That's good. 10 over 500 at home. 5 over on the road. That's good. The only thing I'm concerned, Dustin, is against teams with a winning record. They are 26-27.
I was gonna say, I knew they were just right there. I knew it was really, really close, and they've got a tough series coming up next. So something they're gonna have to work on if they want to get back to Wrigley above 500 against the better teams.
Yeah, and Dustin, we had a flurry of roster moves happening. The first one came before the first game on Monday. We said that after Nate Pearson's disastrous outing on Sunday that he probably wasn't going to be long. He wasn't. In a shock, though, the Cubs called up Michael Fulmer. You remember him?
I do remember him.
Back with the team. He was in AAA, and he looked good. He made 2 starts or 2 relief appearances, but unfortunately, he wasn't going to stick around long. We talked about Ben Brown. He was sent to AAA, and Porter Hodge came up. Now, Craig Counsell was asked about Ben Brown, and, he really – this is what he wants to see. This is what he had to say.
Well, we have a starter coming back. And I think, basically what I told you guys last night a lot of is like, there's, within your struggles, there's growth, and you don't know it at the time that it's happening. But you are getting better. And it's hard to, when you're in the trees, it's hard to see that. And hopefully, you get a little space away from it, and we can help him understand how he's getting better, and then see clearly the things that we've got to get a little better at. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna start. We also may use this opportunity to somewhat like limit the workload a little bit, but he's going to continue to start.
So, Dustin, that's key, because I know David Haw was talking all about, I want Ben Brown in the bullpen. Here's the thing that people have to remember. When you talk about this, you don't have Justin Steele, okay? You have Shota, who's back after that leg injury. Then after that, we talked about how great Matt Boyd has been. But, Dustin, he hasn't thrown a full season worth of innings since 2019, okay? So there's going to be a time where it's going to catch up to him. We talked about J-Mo having his highs and lows. Cade Horton, first major league season. How much do you want to push him after his injury from last season? So these are all things. What you don't want to do is have Ben Brown becoming a 1-inning max guy and throwing it all out there. And then all of a sudden, if something happens, or if you have to give some of those guys rest, or if they have dead arm, or God only knows what can happen, you can't wait for Ben Brown to crank it up again. Okay. This way, he's going down. He's going to keep his routine going. They're going to limit and watch his innings. So my guess, he'll stick it around 4 or 5 innings in a certain pitch count. He'll use the time to work on that changeup, especially against lefties, make it more effective, and give the mind a reset. You know what I mean? Just take a breather. We saw what happened with Matt Shaw. We've seen it happen to Kyle Schwarber, Rizzo. Go down the list of players that have done this. It's not a big deal, and I think Ben Brown's going to come back stronger from this.
I hope you're right, buddy. I hope you are right about that. Hope you're right about most of the things you say about the Cubs. All right, All-Star game update, Crowley.
Real quick, though, Shota, when he got called up, Michael Fulmer was DFA'd, so thank you for your service, sir. But, again, no options, nothing we can do, DFA'd. Now, Dustin, All-Star voting, Phase 1 ended today, and right now there are 3 Cubs that have the possibility of being they have moved on as finalists. So this is to see, now it's started over at 0 again, right? They have made the All-Star. Just the question is, are they going to start? So these guys were either finished first or second in their position with PCA and Tucker. If they were big vote getters, and then Carson Kelly finished second. So they have a chance to be starters in the All-Star game. That opens up Monday and then closes Wednesday evening. So we need all Cub fans to go out there and vote. Now, there's still chances for other guys to make it. I still think Nico's deserving. I think Seiya Suzuki is deserving. And I would throw in Matt Boyd on that.
Wow, Matt Boyd, huh?
Yeah, I think that he has pitched to an all-star caliber level as far as this season is going. I think there's no reason why you wouldn't have him in there, right?
Okay. I just, yeah. I mean, he's done a really nice job. He allows 2 or less runs and all those starts. So yeah, okay. I can get down with that. I didn't really think of it that hard, Crawley. Very good. All right. Bob Nightingale's got some Cub trade rumors we need to discuss.
Yeah, Bob has his USA Today piece that comes out. And Bob says, quote, please forget about the fantasy of the Pirates even considering trading ace Paul Skeens. Don't even bother calling if you want Paul Skeens, right? Now, if you want starters Mitch Keller or Andrew Heaney, or closer Dave Bednar, or infielders Isaiah Kinner-Falefa or Brian Hayes, or outfielders Brian Reynolds, Tommy Pham, the Pirates will have an operator standing by to take your calls. And in fact, Bob reports, and I know that Bruce has seconded, that the Cubs have been one of those teams that have been calling, and they want Mitch Keller and David Bednar, their closer, right? And so you could pull some sort of deal. You could get a starter in Mitch Keller, who, again, we talked about it.
Mitch Keller does nothing for me.
He's
a 3rd or 4th guy. They need an ace, Crawley. They need somebody that they are, I like Shota as your 1 or your 2. Okay. I do. I really do. But who's the game 1 guy? Who's the game 1 guy?
As of right now, your game 1 would be Shota and your game 2 would be Matt Boyd.
Yeah.
You have to make moves with the understanding that there is going to be very few people that are going to get that ace, Dustin. Very few people. And again, Chris Sale's on the IL now. Sandy Alcantara is a name that's been out there. Merrill Kelly over in Arizona. Those are all names. How about Merrill Kelly and Eugenio Suarez getting a third baseman with some pop?
Okay.
That's another possibility.
That I'm more interested in.
Those are all possibilities, but this is a confirmed by 2 different guys, right?
I just it doesn't do much for me. That's all I'm saying.
But could Mitch Keller be a better, different pitcher on a better team?
Sure.
Run save on this team. The Cubs are 2nd in defensive run saved in all of baseball. I'll take a look at the Pirates, but I got a feeling they're not in the top 20. And so if you got a guy, it might really make a huge difference. And Mitch Keller may be that. Do I think he's going to be an ace? No, but like I warned you about before, I don't know how long Matt Boyd can keep this up. I don't know how long Kate Corton can keep going. Those are 2 guys that if you lose them, what next then? You're going to keep going with Colin Ray? I mean,
you're not going to go with Colin Ray. No, we're not going with Colin Ray. Not a playoff game. No.
And Ben Brown hasn't started a full season either. So it's not a bad move, just in general, to get some sort of depth in here in case, God forbid, something bad happens. And so that's Jed Hoyer's job. But I think we all know we need a dominant lights-out closer. And Hodge and Palencia have done a great job. They're just inexperienced. They're green, right?
Yep.
And so you get a guy like Bednar and you put Porter Hodge 8th and you can put Palencia 7th. You can really shorten these games up. And so I think you need a closer for sure. Again, I don't know if there's like I said, there's a lot of teams that want ace number 1s and closers. There's a lot of teams looking for that. The price is going to be astronomical. And so could you maybe do something that would still give you a chance in October?
Okay. This is tough. It's a tough one, Crawley. It's a tough one. It's very, very tough. This is the Fly the W670 podcast. Crawley, I can't believe it. We're at the halfway point of the 2025 season. You can listen, you can review, you can subscribe. 5-star reviews. We'll take one of those, please. You can email us, crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. Don't forget, you can watch us at Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. Cubs Astros preview, Crawley. That's where the Cubs are waking up tomorrow down in Houston.
I always get grumpy when I think about Houston because if you remember, it was Houston and Theo and the Cubs who came up with this tear down, get a bunch of draft picks ideas, and then have sustained success. And the Cubs got their World Series, but when you talk about sustained success, the Astros really truly have been the model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last season, the Astros finished with a record of 88-73, first again for the AL West for the 4th consecutive season, and for 7 out of the past 8 seasons. They also clinched a postseason berth for the 8th consecutive season and 9 times in the past 10 seasons. But the Astros were swept by the Detroit Tigers in the AL Wild Card Series. That's when the Tigers went on that amazing tear, ending their streak of consecutive ALCS appearances at 7. So from 2017 to 2023, the Astros were consistently 4 games away from the World Series. Made a couple, won a couple. I mean, that is something else. And Dustin, I don't know if that was the second most consecutive LCS appearances after the Atlanta Braves did it 8 times, if you remember in the 90s.
Yeah.
So you ask yourselves, okay, what did the Astros do in the offseason? Man, they lost a lot. Obviously, we all know Kyle Tucker coming in the trade that sent Isaac Paredes, Hayden Wesneski, and Cam Sanders, who we're going to see, to Houston. Ryan Presley, the Cubs got. They lost Alex Bregman, UC Kikuchi, Justin Verlander to free agency. That was just kind of really nuts. They did get Christian Walker to play first, but other than that, their big pickups were Isaac Paredes, Hayden Wesneski, and Cam Smith. So, that really, when you think about losing Tucker and Alex Bregman and Presley and Verlander, that's a lot. The Astros started off this season okay. They've been picking it up as of late. They're currently 48-33, first place in the AL West, with the Mariners 6 games behind in second. They finished March, April 16-14. In May, they were 15-13. But June is seeing the Astros heat up. They're 17-6 in June with a 9-1 record at home for the month. They haven't lost a series yet in June, winning 6 series and splitting a 4-game series with the Athletics. They just finished a sweep of the Phillies, but Dustin, they've been struggling to score some runs lately. In that sweep of the Phillies, they scored 5 runs in 3 games, and that was good enough to win all of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Astros are 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row. They're 30-13 at home, 18-20 on the road.
Boy, they're good at home.
Yep. And how about this? They're 29-21 against teams with a winning record.
That's a pretty nice stat as well.
Now, the Astros have been bit by the injury bug, especially their rotation. 3/5 of their opening day rotations on the IL. Spencer Arrighetti's on the 60-day IL with a broken right thumb when he was hit by a ball in batting practice. Hayden Wesneski and Ronel Blanco are both out with Tommy John surgery. Their season's over. That's in addition to the loss of Luis Garcia, who had Tommy John in 2023 and still hasn't come back after setbacks. Christian Javier last year in June underwent Tommy John. He's not back. It's going to be interesting, though, because you have this homecoming for Justin Tucker. I'm sure they're going to do a video tribute. I'm sure they're probably going to do one for Ryan Presley as well. And then for Cub fans, to see Cam Smith, especially, that's going to be interesting.
Isaac Paredes too, right?
Isaac Paredes, but you knew what you had in Isaac Paredes. You weren't really upset to lose that. Cam Smith, to make this team, that to me was, if he ends up being great, it's going to be one of those things that if you don't re-sign Justin Turner, those are going to be one of those trades you're not going to forget.
No, you will not. Tail of the tape time, Crawley. Ring that bell, buddy. Tail of the tape.
All right, when we talk about batting average, the Cubs are tied third in MLB with 256, but the Astros are right behind them in fourth, 255. So 0.001 difference between the two teams. But the Cubs have more slug. They're fourth in baseball with 444, while the Astros are 14th, 399. Runners in scoring position, another big difference. The Cubs are third in baseball, hitting 283, while the Astros are 16th at 249. So they hit about the same, but the Cubs better at slug and runners in scoring position. The big difference is pitching. The Astros starting pitching is 8th best ERA in baseball, 352, while the Cubs is 21st with 421. Now, obviously, again, not having Ben Brown, having Shota is going to change that, but that's a huge difference. And here's the big issue. The Cubs bullpen whip is 12th in baseball, 126. The Astros bullpen whip is 1.12, best in the majors. So you do not want to fall behind the Astros. When we talk about defense, the Cubs second in baseball at 43 defensive runs saved. The Astros are 14th in baseball with 11 runs saved.
All right, moving right along, Crawley, because that's what we do here on the Fly the W podcast. We've got the pitching probables. Now, how confident are you that Friday night Cade Horton is going to be throwing? Because right now I heard they're still kind of being wishy-washy on this.
My understanding, Cade Horton is throwing, so we'll see.
All
I mean, he got that extra rest because of the shoulder return.
Mhm.
And so he gets that extra rest, right? He's the 23-year-old rookie who's 3-1 with 3.73 ERA in 8 games. 7 of those starts with 31 strikeouts in 41 innings pitched. He's been a really solid addition to the staff. On June 8th, he took the loss in Detroit, giving up 4 runs in 5 innings. The last 2 starts, he did not get a decision, but he pitched well. On June 13th against Pittsburgh, he pitched 5 2/3 innings, scoreless innings. In his last start against the Mariners with the wind howling out at Wrigley, he only pitched 4 2/3 innings, but he gave up 3 runs and no home runs. This is the first time Cade has faced the Astros, and none of their hitters have seen him yet.
Yeah, so that's good. That's a good thing. New guy always seems to be a thing. How about what are the Cubs going to be facing? Left-handers, so no Michael Busch, huh?
Nah, but at least he's going to be down there. But Brandon Walters, a 28-year-old lefty in his second major league season. He appeared for a handful of games for the Red Sox in 2023, didn't play in 2024 with a rotator cuff injury, was DFA'd, picked up on the Astros. He was called up on May 20th, sent back down, called up on June 8th. He's made 3 starts in June, 2 good and 1 bad. On June 8th, he pitched 6 innings against the Guardians, gave up 2 runs. On June 15th, he gave up only 1 run in 6 2/3 innings against the Twins. But in his last start against the Angels on June 21st, he gave up 7 runs, 2 homers in 6 innings of work. Now, even though he hasn't pitched a lot, Walter did face the Cubs once in 2023, and that was when he was with Boston, and it didn't go well for him. He gave up 2 runs and 2 innings of work on 6 hits. Ian Happ is the only one that's had more than 1 at bat against him. He was 2 for 2 when he saw him. But Walter's mainly a ground ball pitcher. He also throws a cutter, sweeper, changeup, and sinker.
All right, game number 2. This is also a Saturday night game, 6:15 first pitch. Right now, Colin Ray is doing this.
Yeah, versus Ryan Gusto. And keep in mind, this is going to be a Fox game of the week on Saturday night. So the Friday is going to be marquee. Sunday is going to be marquee. Saturday is going to be on Fox. And all those games will be carried locally on 670, The Score with Pat and Ron.
Very good, very good, very good.
But Colin Ray's 4-3 with a 4.42 ERA in 16 games, 12 of those starts, and has 54 strikeouts in 73 1/3 innings. Ray has been up and down for the Cubs after a really good April and half of May. Since then, he's been inconsistent. On June 10th versus the Phillies, he gave up 4 runs in 4 1/3 innings. On June 15th against the Pirates, looked better. He gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. And in his last start on June 22nd against the Mariners, he gave up 7 runs, 4 home runs in 5 1/3 innings pitched. Ray is 1-1 lifetime against the Astros with a 4.66 ERA and 2 starts. Colin had better be careful of Jose Altuve, who's 2 for 6 with a home run against him, and Jeremy Pena is 2 for 4.
Yeah, I really do like this Astros lineup, Crawley. I really do. All right, so what are the Cubs going to see in Ryan Gusto, if I said that right?
Yeah, 26-year-old righty in his first full season in the majors, 5-3 with a 4.62 ERA in 17 games, 11 of those starts with 67 strikeouts in 60 1/3 innings pitch. It's not been an up and down system for Gusto, similar to like it was with Ben Brown. That's what happened when you have young guys, right? They have good starts, they have bad starts. In April, Gusto was 3-1 with a 3.24 ERA. In May, he was 0-1 with an 8.25 ERA. And so far in June, he's 2-1 with a 4.64 ERA. On June 11th against the White Sox, he gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. On June 16th against the A's, he gave up 1 run in 5 innings. And in his last start against the Angels, he gave up 5 runs, 2 homers, and 6 innings of work. Now, obviously, the Cubs haven't seen Gusto before, and none of his hitters. He's a strikeout pitcher with a wide array of pitches, a 4-seamer, a curveball, a cutter, a changeup, a sweeper, sinker, and slider.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice. So we got to move over to the next game, right? We got to move on to game number 3. Jameson Taillon's going to try to get things straight. But boy, Framber Valdez, another lefty, tough lefty. This is a Sunday 110er.
Yes, sir. Jameson Taillon, 7-5 with a 4.47 ERA in 16 starts, 70 strikeouts and 90 2/3 innings pitched. After 6 quality starts in a row, JMO struggled in his last 2. His last quality start was on June 12th against the Pirates. He gave up 2 runs in 6 1/3 innings. But last week versus the Brewers, he gave up 5 runs on 8 hits, 2 homers, and 4 innings of work. Me and my buddy Steve Scher were at that game. He's watching right now on the YouTube channel, but he was getting beaten like a piñata. Like every ball was hard hit. And then against the Cardinals on Monday, gave up 8 runs, 3 home runs, and 4 innings of work. JMO's hoping to turn around against the Astros. He's 1-1 his career against Houston with a 4.50 ERA in 5 games started. Jose Altuve is 4 for 14 against JMO. Vic Caratini is 4 for 9, and Jeremy Pena is 4 for 8 against Taillon. And then, like you said, for the Astros, Framber Valdez is the ace of that pitching staff. The lefty is 8-4 with a sparkling 2.88 ERA in 16 games started, with 102 strikeouts and 103 innings pitched. He's had 8 quality starts in the last 9 games pitched and 12 quality starts for the season. He did not get a quality start on June 12th against the White Sox because of his pitch count. He had 12 strikeouts and 5 innings of work with only 1 walk. On June 18th, he gave up 2 runs and 6 innings of work against the Athletics. In his last start on June 24th against the Phillies, he pitched 7 shutout innings. He is 4-1 with a 2.04 ERA at home. Valdez has only faced the Cubs once in his career. In 2023, it didn't go well. He gave up 4 runs in 4 innings of work in his only start against the North Siders. Most of the Cubs have less than 2 at-bats against Framber. John Birdie's 1 for 6, Dansby's 2 for 5, and Justin Turner has the most. He's 5 for 11. So you figure.
Well, I guarantee you're going to see Justin Turner in that one, right? And
yeah,
that makes sense. 5 and 11. That makes sense. All right, hot and not. I know Michael Busch, Nico Horner, got to be on this list.
He is really heating up.
Had to do that drop right there. All right. As far as it goes, though, don't forget about Carson Kelly coming back a little bit. 6 for his last 12.
A little bit.
He's hitting 500. Michael Busch, 9 for his last 24 with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs, slashing 375, 406.25. Nico Horner, 9 for 25. He's got his first homer and 3 RBIs. And Kyle Tucker, 10 for his last 28, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. He is slashing 357, 438, 714. Unfortunately, on the not list, you got Dansby Swanson. He is 5 for his last 25, slashing 200, 231, 240. And Matt Shaw's on the cold list, 3 for his last 21, slashing 143, 250, 143.
Very, very good. What about the knots?
Those are the knots on the knots there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, my bad.
As far as the hots for Houston,
well, again, like I said earlier, I love this lineup.
Yeah, but they're not hitting lately. They got a great lineup.
Not as much. No. A lot of names, right?
Yeah, Jeremy Pena is the one that's been kind of carrying them. He's 8 for his last 23 with 2 homers and 3 RBIs, slashing 348, 400, 739. Jake Myers is 7 for his last 21. He's slashing 333, 318, 331. But then you start kind of getting some drops there a little bit. 2 Cubs would be 3 and 4, 278, Isaac Paredes and Cam Smith at 273 in the last week. But then after that, Christian Walker's hitting 100. Their third baseman is hitting, Luis Guillorme is hitting 143. Victor Caratini and Yanir Diaz are their catchers, are bad. Maurice Dubon, their second baseman, 133. How about Jose Altuve, 2 for his last 18, slashing 111, 333, 111. I mean, that you're not used to that, right?
No. No, not at all for Altuve. No, he's really been fantastic for a long, long time. All right, here we go. Prediction time. Cubs on the road against a very good team. Both of us were right last time. We had different games. We both thought a split. I'll go first. They're not going to get swept, Crawley. They're gonna win one. They're gonna win one. I'm gonna say they're gonna win that first one.
I'm with you on that. I think they go 1-2. I think they win the first game, the Cade Horton start. Colin Ray, I mean, it feels like it's been such a struggle lately. And then I want to believe in J-Mo, and I think I think J-Mo's going to have a good start. He's just going up against one of the best in the game. And so that's why
he's tough, man. Framber Valdez is a tough customer. He's, that's the type of guy the Cubs are looking for, a game 1 World Series, big game. All right, Crowley, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. You got a question? Well, we hope we have got an answer for you. All you got to do is email us, crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com, and you can watch us, as some of you are right now, by subscribing to the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube channel. Crawley, try to stay cool. I know you're on a summer vacation right now, so enjoy yourself, and we'll get back together as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, you know what? This is why we play the games. If the Cubs can do what they did in St. Louis these last 2 games, they can beat anybody. So go in there, kind of swing the bats, play good fundamental baseball. You got a chance to win this. Go Cubs!
It's all over.